The silent Exodus Commissioner, Kylara, pressed her 6 fingers against the cold metal surface of her control panel. The readings made no sense. Her species, the Zenthari, were known throughout the galaxy for their precision in trade calculations, but these numbers defied all logic. The massive holographic display showed the same impossible data for the 3rd time. Every single human trading post in Sector 7 had gone completely silent. The blue-skinned woman stood up from her chair, her tall frame casting shadows across the monitoring station. Around her, dozens of other trade officials from various species worked at their stations, tracking the movement of goods across hundreds of star systems. The constant hum of interstellar commerce filled the air, but something was wrong. Something was very wrong. Station Chief, Gorlax, she called out to the massive, rock-like being who managed their operations. His 4 eyes turned toward her, each one the size of a dinner plate. I need you to verify these readings. The human trade networks have gone completely dark. Gorlax's stone face showed no emotion, but his voice rumbled like an earthquake. Define. Dark, Commissioner. Kylara pulled up the sector map, highlighting the human territories in bright red. No communications, no cargo ships, no response to standard trade inquiries. It's like they all vanished at exactly the same time. The station chief moved his enormous bulk across the room, each step shaking the floor slightly. His people, the Granite Lords, were slow to act but thorough in their thinking. Run a full system diagnostic. Perhaps our equipment is malfunctioning, but the diagnostics came back clean. Every system worked perfectly. The silence from human space was real. Within 6 hours, reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. Trade Commissioner Yelena from the Crystal Dominion reported the same phenomenon in her sector. Military Commander Threk of the Iron Claws found no response from human defense stations along the Outer Rim, even the notorious pirates of the Crimson. Fleet reported that human merchant vessels had simply stopped appearing on their hunting grounds. The emergency session of the Galactic Assembly was called for the following day. Representatives from 43 different species gathered in the Great Circular Chamber on Concordia Prime, the neutral meeting world at the galaxy's heart. The chamber buzzed with voices speaking in dozens of languages, all asking the same question: where had the humans gone? Chancellor Vex, an elderly ethereal whose translucent body glowed with wisdom, called for order. We are gathered here to address an unprecedented situation. The human species, which controls approximately 18% of galactic trade routes and maintains colonies on over 400 worlds, has ceased all communication. The chamber erupted in discussions. The humans were one of the youngest species to join the galactic community, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 3 centuries ago. But in that short time, they had spread across the stars with remarkable speed, establishing trade networks, research stations, and colonies. Wherever they went, they were not the strongest military power or the most advanced technologically, but they were everywhere. General Vorthok of the Krell Empire stood up, his reptilian features twisted into what might have been a smile. The Krell were a warrior race, and their general was covered in battle scars that told stories of 1,000 conflicts. Perhaps the humans have finally realized they were out of their depth in galactic affairs. Maybe they have retreated to their home system. Dr. Nexum of the Ethereal Collective disagreed. Her species were master scientists, beings of pure energy who had transcended physical form millennia ago. Our long-range sensors detect no unusual activity in the Sol system. If anything, Earth appears to be operating normally, but we detect no human life signs, "Then where are they?" demanded Captain Dolran, an independent merchant whose trade route had included several human worlds. His species, the Wanderers, were nomadic by nature, and he had probably dealt with more human colonies than anyone else in the chamber. "I was trading with New Geneva just 2 days ago. The humans there were preparing for their harvest festival. There were no signs that they were planning to leave." Chancellor Vex raised one glowing hand for silence. "We have formed investigation teams from multiple species. They will visit key human territories and report back within the week." The investigation teams found something that shook the foundations of galactic understanding. The human colonies were not destroyed. They were not abandoned in panic. They were simply empty, as if every human had decided to leave at exactly the same moment and had done so with careful planning. Commander Zalith of the Silver Fleet led the team that investigated New Geneva, the same colony that Captain Dolran had visited days earlier. What they found defied explanation. The colony's buildings stood intact and undamaged. Power systems continued to function. Automated farming equipment still tended to the crops. In the central plaza, decorations for the harvest festival hung from lampposts, swaying gently in the alien breeze. "It's like they just stepped out for a moment," reported Lieutenant Kessa, Zolof's second-in-command. Her people, the scout runners, had enhanced senses that could detect traces of recent activity. But there are no signs of struggle, no evidence of packing, no indication of where they went. The same scene repeated across human space. On the mining world of Kepler Station, automated extractors continued pulling rare minerals from the planet's crust, but no humans were there to collect them. Research facilities on the edge of the galaxy continued their experiments, with advanced computers running complex calculations that no one understood anymore. Even the human military bases were found intact, their weapons systems powered down, and their defensive barriers deactivated. Dr. Nexum studied the findings with growing fascination. This level of coordination is remarkable. For an entire species to disappear simultaneously across hundreds of worlds, leaving everything in perfect order, suggests months or years of planning. But the mystery deepened when the alien species began to claim human territories for themselves. The Krell Empire was first, sending colonization fleets to seize the most strategically important human worlds. General Vorthok personally led the occupation of Terra Nova, a key military outpost that controlled access to 3 major trade routes. The Crystal Dominion claimed the research stations, hoping to unlock human scientific discoveries. The Mechanical Collective took control of the automated mining operations. Even smaller powers moved quickly to grab whatever pieces of human space they could manage. At first, everything seemed perfect. The human technology worked flawlessly. Their cities provided comfortable homes for alien settlers. Their farms continued to produce food. Their factories kept manufacturing goods. It was as if the humans had left behind the greatest gift in galactic history: fully functional, advanced civilizations ready for new inhabitants. Captain Dolran was among the first independent traders to establish operations in former human space. He set up a trading post on the abandoned world of Harmony, where humans had built a beautiful city surrounded by crystal gardens. The technology was decades ahead of anything his species had developed, and the living conditions were luxurious beyond his dreams. For 3 weeks, everything was wonderful. Then the machines began to change. It started small. Lights in the human buildings would flicker in strange patterns. Elevators would stop at floors where no one had pressed buttons. Computer systems would display messages in human languages that the translation systems couldn't decode. Dr. Nexim was studying human research equipment on the science station Prometheus when she first encountered what the investigation teams would later call ghost protocols. She was examining a quantum analysis device when it suddenly activated on its own, displaying a complex holographic model of something she didn't recognize. "The device appears to be scanning for something," she reported to a research team, "but I cannot determine what it is looking for." Similar incidents occurred across all the claimed human territories. On Terra Nova, General Vorthok's soldiers reported that the base's defense systems would randomly power up and run diagnostic checks, even though no one had activated them. The targeting computers would track movement across empty sky, as if they detected threats that the Krell sensors couldn't identify. Captain Dolren discovered that his trading post's computer system had been recording and storing information about every alien species that entered human space. The data was incredibly detailed, including biological information, technological assessments, and what appeared to be threat evaluations. "It's like the humans left behind watching systems," he reported to Commissioner Kylara during one of their regular trade meetings. "The machines are still following orders, but we don't know what those orders are." The situation became more disturbing. When the alien settlers tried to access the deeper levels of human technology, Dr. Nexim's team found laboratories sealed behind locks that required human genetic identification. When they finally cut through the security barriers, they discovered research that made no sense to any known galactic species. Captain Dulran was monitoring his trading post's communication systems when the first response came from deep space. It was not the chaotic anti-signal of the Devourers, but something else entirely. A voice speaking in perfect human language, coming from a source that registered on no physical sensors. "The transition is complete," the voice said. "We are no longer what we were, but we have become what is needed. The first wave approaches. All species must evacuate the Outer Rim systems immediately." Across the galaxy, similar messages appeared. On every human computer system, the voices identified themselves with human names, but they spoke with a knowledge and authority that transcended their former existence. They were the transformed humans, the new guardians who had sacrificed their physical existence to protect all life in the galaxy. Admiral Zorith coordinated the massive evacuation effort as billions of beings fled the outer systems. The human defense platforms, now revealed as Guardian technology, created protective barriers around the refugee fleets. Advanced human weapons that had seemed inexplicable now showed their true purpose as they prepared to engage enemies that existed partially outside reality. Elder Mistral contacted the Galactic Assembly with a message that chilled every species. To their core, the Devourers have arrived at the Galactic Rim. The new Guardians are engaging them now. What you are about to witness is the battle between existence and void, between reality and the force that seeks to unmake all things. Through their deep space sensors, the assembled species watched the impossible conflict unfold. The Devourers appeared as regions of absolute darkness that hurt to look at directly, areas where space itself seemed to fold inward and disappear. Against them stood formations of pure light and energy, the transformed humans wielding powers that transcended physical laws. Dr. Nexim observed the battle from Prometheus Station, using equipment the humans had modified for this exact purpose. "They're not just fighting to destroy the Devourers," she reported. "They're fighting to seal the breaches in reality itself, to close the paths the invaders use to enter our galaxy." The battle raged for days across thousands of light years. Entire star systems flickered between existence and void as the conflict shifted back and forth. The transformed humans fought with a coordination that was impossible for individual beings, moving as a single consciousness while maintaining the creativity and determination that had defined their species. Captain Dolren watched from his evacuation ship as the human defense grid around his former trading post activated fully. Massive structures that had been hidden beneath the planet's surface rose into view, revealing technology so advanced it seemed like magic. The Guardian weapons fired beams of concentrated reality, striking at enemies that existed in spaces between dimensions. They planned all of this, he whispered to Commissioner Kylara, who had joined the same refugee fleet. The humans knew what was coming and what they would have to become to stop it. They spent their final years preparing not just for their own transformation, but for protecting all of us. The turning point came when the transformed humans managed to engage the Devourer's command entities, the ancient minds that directed the invasion. These beings had consumed countless galaxies over millions of years, growing stronger with each reality they unmade. But the new Guardians brought something the Devourers had never faced before: the combined ingenuity, stubbornness, and protective instinct of an entire human species merged into a unified consciousness. General Vorthok, observing from the military coordination center, saw the moment when the tide of battle shifted. The humans, they're not just holding the line anymore. They're pushing the Devourers back. One by one, the reality breaches began to close. The Devourers found themselves unable to maintain their foothold in normal space as the Guardian weapons systematically sealed the dimensional pathways they used to manifest. The entities of void and anti-light began to retreat, their forms becoming less substantial as they lost their connection to the galaxy's reality. The final message came from the transformed humans as the last of the Devourers were expelled beyond the galactic rim. The threat is contained for now. We will maintain the watch as those before us did. The galaxy is safe, but remember what you have learned. Unity is strength. Cooperation is survival, and sometimes the greatest act of courage is to become something more than what you were. In the aftermath, as the surviving alien species began to return to their worlds, they found that the human colonies had been transformed into monitoring stations and Guardian outposts. The technology that had seemed abandoned now revealed its true purpose as an early warning system and defense network that would protect the galaxy for the next 500,000 years. Dr. Nexim published her findings about the Guardian cycle, ensuring that future generations would understand the sacrifice the humans had made. Captain Dolren established a memorial on Harmony, turning his former trading post into a shrine, honoring the species that had given up their individual existence to protect all life. Commissioner Kylara implemented new trade protocols that fostered cooperation between species, inspired by the human example of unity in the face of impossible odds. And General Vorthok, humbled by witnessing true courage, reformed the Krell military doctrine to emphasize protection over conquest. The galaxy had learned a terrible and wonderful truth. Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from holding on to what you are, but from choosing to become what others need you to be. The humans were gone, but they were also more present than ever before, watching from spaces between realities, ensuring that life itself would continue to flourish among the stars in the deepest archives. Elder Mistral added a new entry to the galactic record. The species known as humanity chose transcendence to protect those who would never fully understand their sacrifice. They became the guardians, not because they had to, but because they could. This is the true meaning of courage. To transform yourself so completely that others might simply continue to exist. And in the spaces between dimensions, the transformed humans continued their eternal watch. No longer individual, but still recognizably human in their determination to protect the innocent and their refusal to let darkness prevail. They had left their physical existence behind, but they had taken their values with them into whatever they had become. The galaxy was safe, and it would remember.